What's going on, everybody? Happy Thursday. Welcome to another edition of Mean Streets powered by FTN right here on Game Plus Network. Also live on our FTN Network YouTube page. Chris Meaney here with you. Hopefully everybody's having a fantastic day. We have our guy, Bryon Cook. Of course, he's going to drop by like he does every single Thursday. We're going to preview tonight's football game happening in Tennessee. The Titans taking on the Dallas Cowboys, and Derrick Henry is not going to play in this game. It's tough news. It's really tough. I mean, it's championship week for a lot of people. No Derrick Henry. Austin Eckler popped up in the injury report yesterday. Miles Sanders popped up in the injury report yesterday. That Eckler injury, I don't know if you guys caught it. I was a little agitated watching Eckler get back into that game. What the last game we saw was Monday night, right, against the Colts. They were up a couple scores, and they were running it out with Kelly. And I know this because I was going against Eckler in my fantasy matchup. I'm like, man, just no more Eckler. Like, I love the guy. He had 2 touchdowns. I got him in a couple spots. Like, just no more Eckler. Just stop for a second, please. Because he needed like a couple more points, and I was going to get bounced in one of my semifinal matchups. So I see the Chargers. Like, he scored his second touch of the game, and they went up, like, I don't know what they were up, like 20 points, a couple scores at least. And then Kelly ran the ball a couple times. And then they were going for the first down. So they decided to put Eckler in the game. And it was like a swing pass out to him, and he got tangled up, and he rolled over. And he got up slowly, and I'm like, oh my goodness, like, what is Staley doing? You need this first down that much to put Eckler back on the field in this game? And now he's on the injury report. I think he's fine. I really do. I think he's okay. But just those little things, right? Coaching, like, what are you doing at this time of the season, risking those guys? I don't believe that the Chargers are going to sit anybody this week. They have a very winnable game. But looking at the playoff picture, and we'll bring this up with Bryon Cook in a little bit, looking at the playoff picture, I'd say the Chargers are really going to shoot for that number 5 seed. Thank you, Tyler. How important is this to avoid the Bengals or potentially the Ravens? It looks like you're going to have a game on the road regardless. But to play Jacksonville, and no disrespect to the Jags, they're playing really good football. But let's be honest. If you're the Chargers and you could pick a team, you got the Bengals, the Ravens, and the Jags. I'm pretty sure you're picking the Jags if you can, right? So a lot on the line for the Chargers. Even though they clinched, there's only one spot up for grabs, and it is the Dolphins, who have not clinched just yet in New England. Teddy Bridgewater is going to start. I don't know if we're going to see Tua again this season or ever. You may not see him again, honestly. Multiple concussions this season. It's scary. It is just super scary. The Dolphins, were in hot fire, hot mess, how they treated the situation maybe a couple times, right? Certainly earlier in the year. And then maybe some questions last week as well. As I just speculating, it looked like he suffered the concussion early in that game, and then he played in the second half. And Tyler brought up some of the numbers that he had in the second half of that game compared to the first half. Maybe he wasn't feeling himself. But listen, Luke Kuechly retired at a young age, as well as like one of the best defensive players I've ever seen, right? Just an absolute beast. And he had to retire early due to concussions. Hopefully Tua is all right. We're worried about the health, but I'm also concerned about Miami moving forward as well. Yesterday on the show, we talked about a couple things. We talked about Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, and Hill 300 plus yards into 2 games with Teddy Bridgewater. And part of those games, Skylar Thompson a little bit. And then we saw, Tua in one of those games as well. But mostly Teddy Bridgewater, and he was locked into Tyreek Hill. And there was some questions about Jalen Waddle. I think Waddle's still a decent play as a wide receiver too. Really tough to sit him. Teddy's an okay quarterback. He's very accurate as a quarterback. We trust Mike McDaniel as a play caller, and he's going to find a way to get the ball into his playmakers' hands in what is a massive game for both teams when Miami plays New England this week. But tonight it is Dallas and Tennessee. As I mentioned, it's tough, with some of these guys that have popped up, potentially no Jalen Hurts, no Tua. You're downgrading everybody inside the Raiders offense with the news that we talked about yesterday. It's almost like we were rubbing the crystal ball yesterday, right, Tyler? When we talked about Derek Carr, when we were asking questions, I was asking Jeremy, like, is Derek Carr a member of this team next year? Is Devontae Adams a member? What does this team look like? Is Josh McDaniels one and done? And then when we finished up the show, as we were talking about reports from our guy Vic Tafer of The Athletic, former colleague, follows the Raiders very, very closely, phenomenal follow on Twitter, and a fantastic writer over at The Athletic. He had talked about the potential out that the Raiders do have if they can get out of the contract and the guaranteed money after this season 4 days after the Super Bowl is when that would have to happen, according to the contract and some reports out of Las Vegas. Now he's just straight up benched and inactive over the next couple of games because they wouldn't be able to release him if he suffered an injury. So he's missed a little bit of time, uh, but mostly for injuries over the course of his career. I mean, a few years ago, he had a couple MVP votes, Derek Carr, with Michael Crabtree and Amari Cooper. Remember that season? He was pretty solid, those two weapons that he had. Derek Carr, I think, is a good quarterback. He leads the NFL in picks. I think Josh McDaniels is a brutal head coach. I've said that multiple times. I don't think he learned anything from his time in Denver. I think he's a great play caller. I really do. You can't deny some of the things that he's done, of course, in New England over the years. And of course, he did have Tom Brady, and Tom Brady is going to be linked to Las Vegas all summer long. It's all you're going to hear. And I remember, you guys remember Tom Brady and some of the things that leaked, and he wanted to go to Las Vegas. And then I forget what show it was, maybe Undisputed. And he's like, what you're going with that? Beep, beep, beep. You're going with that guy? That guy? And I was always wondering at the time, who is that guy? Who is that guy that the organization decided to say, no, we're going to play with this quarterback and we don't want you, Tom Brady. And then Brady went on to Tampa and won a Super Bowl. And he's close to getting back into the playoffs again this year. And it'd be 3 for 3 for Tom in Tampa, making the postseason. But that was the Las Vegas Raiders. Some reports that he wanted to go there and that the organization decided that they wanted to stick with Derek Carr. Now it doesn't seem like they want to stick with Derek Carr. Derek Carr is not going to be a member of the Raiders. It's writing on the wall. He's not going to be there. What does it mean to Davante Adams? He grew up as a Raiders fan, but Derek Carr was his buddy. We've talked about this all year long heading into this season. These two back together again. They played together at Fresno. They were fantastic in college. They were fantastic this year. Davante Adams had a really good season. Now heading into the next couple weeks against the Niners, Davante Adams this week against the Niners, he's not even a top 15 wide receiver for me. Honestly, he's not. I am extremely worried. I don't really think Jared Stidham's all that great, and I love the Niners. I think you play Josh Jacobs, he's going to run into the wall a lot, but you could be without a couple. Eckler again, he could play. I expect him to play. Miles Sanders, I expect him to play, but no Derrick Henry. And what are you going to do, right? If you have Josh Jacobs, I think you play the guy who's number 2 overall in fantasy points among running backs behind Eckler. But I would not be playing Waller. I would not be getting cute with Hunter Renfrow or things like that. This is not going to be good down the stretch here for the Raiders. But lots of changes, I think, in Las Vegas. Davante Adams went to Instagram yesterday, sticking up for his buddy. Didn't talk about his future. There was questions asked about his future. He wouldn't, he answered other questions, but he just refused to answer that one. Does he demand a trade? Does he follow Derek Carr? Where does Derek Carr go? Because I think he's still top 10 in total touchdowns. The offense was decent this year as well. I think he's an okay quarterback. He's been very accurate over the course of his career. He's made some tough decisions. The Raiders have lost some brutal games in the second half, but I don't think it's all been on Derek Carr. The defense is atrocious in Las Vegas. It's brutal. They haven't been able to nail any of these first-round picks over the past couple of years. They've all been busts. You see them over the past few years. It's been release, off-field issues, on-field issues. There's been a lot that's happened in Las Vegas over the past couple of years. 3 different coaches as well. With Gruden, it seemed like they were rolling with Gruden, and all that happened, and then he was gone. So a lot of changes, I think, coming in Las Vegas. I'd say Waller is gone. I'd say Adams is traded. I think the full rebuild, they draft a quarterback. It's not a quick fix. I just don't think Josh McDaniels is the answer either. I just don't think he's a great coach. And a lot of his players have called him out this season. You've heard it. Davante Adams earlier in the season, in the second half, I don't know why the game plan changed. I don't know why we changed it. Why is this guy getting 0 targets in the second half of games and like 7 or 8 targets and balling out in the first half of games, but they go away from him? Think about all the collapses that the Las Vegas Raiders have had this season. They were up against Arizona in the second half on their home turf. They were up against Jacksonville in the second half. I believe that was on their own home turf as well. They lost to the Colts on their home turf. They were 6-point favorites. Jeff Saturday, his first game as a coach, and Indianapolis went in there and beat Las Vegas. And then the loss to the Rams and Baker Mayfield. And then last week to the Steelers. Like, it's more than Derek Carr. If I was the front office, I'd be moving on from Josh McDaniels. He'd be one and done. But a lot of changes happening in Las Vegas for sure. A little bit of a rant there, I think. 10 minutes into the show, Bryan's hanging on. We're going to address some of the questions that people have here. We are going to talk, of course, Titans and Cowboys, there's really not a lot to talk about. The boys are going to roll all over them. The Titans are in such a bad spot. They're going to save Derrick Henry for next week. Hassan Haskins, don't be playing. I wouldn't be playing this guy. His rushing yard props at 51. We have him for like 10 fantasy points. I don't think you can get too cute in playing him. Even if you had Derrick Henry, I'd be looking elsewhere. So if you have any starter sit questions, pop them up, leave them here in the comment section. Game Plus Network, hop on over, leave them in the YouTube section, comment section. I'll address them always after the show. You can reach out at Chris Meaney, but Bryon is in here next, and we'll take a look at some of those projections. We'll take a look at our questions, and we'll take a look at some of the Week 17 projections that we have over at ftnfantasy.com. And I have way too early rankings for you guys. Top 12 overall, top 12 running backs, and top 12 wide receivers. A fresh look, early look at the way too early 2023 fantasy football rankings. Quick break. Bryon's in here next. Keep her locked. Lots to get to here on Mean Streets. Welcome back in. Chris Meaney and Bryon Cook here with you. 5_4_6. That is 5, the number. IVE_4_6 with 2 I's in 6, just for the iTunes listeners out there. So people love the Thursday show, dude, and it's all you. I know it's all you. You come in here hot with the Gators. You're rocking the Brownies shirt there. So you got some iTunes listeners and some Spotify listeners and stuff looking for your Twitter handle. So give Bryon a follow on the Twitter machine, and away we go, man. Welcome in another Thursday and the last Thursday football game of the season.
Yeah, it should be a pretty good one, if I'm not mistaken. They
really?
usually
Is it good?
You know what? They've been better as of late. So
yeah, we have the boys checking in as 13-point favorites. They were 10-point favorites, and then the news came in about Derrick Henry. So I don't even think you can get any 12.5s anymore. 13.5. Use our prop shop to get the best possible odds. You see minus 645. Minus 625 is the best I'm seeing at PointsBet. You're not going to be doing any of that stuff. The Titans here at plus 500 to win this football game tonight, and the over-under is set at 40. I don't think we'll see Tony Pollard. We're not going to see Derrick Henry in this game. Zeke has been a touchdown machine. He's minus 125 for a touchdown. I put a small sprinkle, Bryon, in there at Bet Tracker for him to have 2 touchdowns at plus 325, plus 175 for him to have a touchdown in the first quarter or first half. I think it's a little bit risky, but it's hard to imagine the Cowboys not taking care of business tonight, and the Titans looking ahead to next week against Jacksonville. I don't really have a whole lot to add to this game, and I don't know. Like Malik Willis, we'd be taking a look at him to see what he can bring to the table, because it's most likely his job the rest of the year into the playoffs with Ryan Tannehill likely done for
Yeah.
the year.
Yeah, and you're going to get to see a lot of pressure tonight. I mean, let's be real. Cowboys are one of the best teams in the league right now at generating pressure, getting sacks, creating those unimaginable, unmanageable second and third and longs. So you're going to get to see a lot of Malik Willis today and see how he handles the pressure. He hasn't really handled it the greatest in his first couple starts. That's been one of the question marks that I had on him coming out of college. So he's going to have plenty of time to prove it tonight if he can handle the pressure and make some passes and kind of get this team rolling in the right direction here. But it's a tall task to do tonight. I will say that.
And is it ever? Like, what do you expect from Hassan Haskins, excuse me. I said that earlier too. Haskins is not like he's not a guy that's going to catch a couple passes. He's a guy that, I think could handle 15 plus touches on the ground. We have him projected for 51 rushing yards, which is right at his rushing yard prop. Caesars is offering 51 and a half at minus 120. PointsBet and FanDuel much higher at 55 and a half. And he's plus 175 to score a touchdown. It's just a tough spot for him, right? But he should touch the ball a lot tonight.
Yeah, I think he'll get his fair share of touches, but this could be a game where they go down early, right? And they have to pass. So one thing I will say about Hoskins is that I watched him in Michigan a good amount, and I do like that running style that he plays with. I think he does fit what they do in Tennessee. And I do think that he's a talented back for what it's worth, for where they grab them. I think that he can produce. I don't know if it'll be tonight, but in the future, I think that he can be a producer when he gets his opportunities. I just don't see a lot of production coming into this stout Cowboys defense with a quarterback that's very much inexperienced. It's going to be, like I said, a tall task. So,
do you think that he could top 51 rushing yards? Do you think he can get to 52, 53? Like, that's such a low number. I don't know if they'll commit to the run, but man, if they're down 2 or 3 scores, I don't think they're going to have Willis just dropping back all the time and just having that defense unleash on him.
If the game is within 10 points by halftime, I obviously got to commit before the game, right? But I think that it's attainable, especially if the game is within 10 before halftime. Like, they're going to still continue to run the ball. But let's go ahead and book it. I think he can get 50 yards. I think he's liable to break maybe one that gets him 15. He might get a 10-plus yard gain, and then he can nickel and dime his way all the way through. You know what I mean? So we'll see what we can do here. But I do like Hassan Haskins, so I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt.
Okay, I'm kind of with you, right? I don't think anybody should be starting him in their fantasy football championship.
Absolutely not.
Even if you lost Derrick Henry, I mean, there's got to be something else out there for you that you can roll out as opposed to him. But I do believe he can kind of get to like 60, 62, 63, kind of live in that range. But I'm looking at Willis. Did you like him coming out of college? And do you feel like he can be a starting? Wait, what?
Is that new?
Joshua Dobbs is starting tonight.
I do like Josh Dobbs, man. He's a brownie.
Dobbs is a brownie. I've seen him play live, actually, believe it or not. Yeah. Think about that. He came in a game, Dobbs. Okay, that changes things, I guess, a little bit. They're not really feeling Malik Willis to throw the football. Yeah, he can throw the ball. I gotta on the fly here. I gotta start looking at some. Talk to me about your boy. I'm looking at more. Titans receiving props because I saw Treylon Burks at 20.5 receiving props. 20. That's like
I'm jumping on that. I'm jumping on that. Especially with Josh Dobbs in there, the ball's going to come out. The ball's going to come out. A guy that is notably good with his feet. Doesn't have the arm strength. That's his knock, right? Doesn't have the arm strength and sometimes the arm accuracy at times, but he's a very, very smart football player in the short time he was with Cleveland when I watched him. And then also just watching throughout his career in Pittsburgh, he's probably one of the most intelligent players in the league, right? He knows where to go with the ball. He's going to deliver it on time. And if it's not there, he's athletic enough, like I said, to make something happen on his feet. So I do think that this shifts things just a little bit, still picking Dallas tonight. But I do think it shifts the way that offense is going to run. I think that's going to help Hassan Haskins quite a bit because, they're going to be able to give him the ball. I think that Josh Dobbs can keep this game within reach, possibly.
I agree, actually.
Yeah.
I think this is better. Like Malik, I mean, he's just in such a tough spot, kind of thrown in. It doesn't seem like he's ready. that they trust him to throw the football, right? It is a tough spot. I don't want to be too hard on him over the past couple weeks, right? To kind of get thrown in here, and there's not a lot of options in the passing game, at least with Dobbs. Like, he's more experienced. He's played a little bit more. And I think, guys, you jump on it right now, and I think you're gonna see these odds change quite a bit. Treylon Burks over 20.5 receiving yards at -110 over at FanDuel. He's +220 at DraftKings to have 3 catches tonight. 3 catches. I'm with you. I still think Dallas wins this game comfortably by 2 scores, double-digit points. I think that they win by at least 10 points here. They lean on Zeke, and you can throw all over. The Titans. There's another prop that I like as well, but those two for Treylon Burks, receiving yards and catches, I jump on that right away. The other prop I was looking at is CD Lamb. Now it's tough because you get into these 13-point, like we've seen before, where Dallas has crushed some teams this year, and they haven't passed a whole lot, like CD Lamb. There was a game I think they won by like 20-something points, and CD and Dalton Schultz didn't do anything. It was their defense. Their defense has created all kinds of turnovers. They scored some points, and they ran the rock with both their running backs. But this is a really good spot for CD Lamb. The Titans have allowed the most fantasy points overall to wide receivers, 189.7 receiving yards to the position per game. That's the third most behind the Vikings and the Lions. They've allowed 14.3 catches per game to wide receivers. That's the second most, and 21.8 targets per game, also the second most. So CD Lamb, we have him projected for 80 receiving yards tonight, and his receiving yard prop is 70.5 over at FanDuel, and that is -109 for CD Lamb. So I'm kind of in on CD. He's been really good with Dak over the past couple weeks. Do you feel me on that one, or you feel like it's a little risky?
I have no choice because I have him in my championship game tonight. So I'm riding.
So you're hoping for it. Yeah,
I am. I'm riding with CD. And so I'm looking to actually bring this to me and everything, but I'm 15-0, looking to go 16-0 tonight.
Oh.
So.
Are you kidding me? This guy's the Dolphin squad over there. Who else is on your team? Nobody cares about people's fantasy teams. I care about yours right now.
I didn't know that was a huge thing, like to be undefeated. This is the first time I've ever had that happen. I
hardly ever see that. I've had some seasons with like 1 or 2 losses, but I played the guy in my home league who had 1 loss all year. He had the bye, and he would have lost last week, and then I beat him this past week. His team just crumbled when it mattered the most, but he had like 300 more points than anybody. It's hard to have that. You have to have a little luck, obviously. Like
I have
what you're doing. But to have it run for the whole year is unbelievable. Share, who's on your squad?
So my quarterback is Pat Mahomes. So that's he saved me like maybe 3 of the last 4 weeks. Nick Chubb, who's been playing kind of down, but he'll still get you 10 points. Tony Pollard, but I don't know if he's playing tonight, so there's a question mark there. CeeDee Lamb, Chris Godwin, Njoku, Keenan Allen, who came on strong. The Eagles defense, and then Tyler Bass, who's been kind of kicking like he has a peg leg, but and then on the bench I got Dulcich, Palmer, Rashad White, Slayton, AJ Dillon, Knox. I just picked up Algier, and I had Cooper Kupp. That was what was carrying me for the first 8, 9, 10 weeks. Right. And then he obviously got hurt. So I got a couple tonight though. So
yeah, you got some of our boys. Hey, Tyler's got some of our boys. Like Tyler Algier was one of our favorites. It's taken some time for Algier, but him and Dameon Pierce, like I just kind of if I was picking in the end of a draft, like in a snake, and around the 9th and 10th round, I would just double tap Pierce and Algier because I'm a guy that likes to target wide receivers early. I like to go I started a lot of my leagues with like Jefferson and Tyreek Hill or CeeDee Lamb, and then I'd get one running back and then go back to wideouts and just try to, find some value at running back. Mm-hmm. And Algier's looked phenomenal, man. This guy's like a potential fantasy football MVP for people. And like you said, you just picked him up a little while ago, and he's been really good, man.
Yeah, I was surprised he was on waivers. And with Tony Pollard being out, he might be a guy that I just slot in there. I'm not even sure who they're playing this week, but I'm just going to trust the fact that he's going to get his touches.
I think it's Arizona.
Oh, and yeah. So I'm definitely going to probably throw him in there if Tony Pollard doesn't play. Yeah, great matchup for him. So, but enough about me. Yeah, that's what I'm up against tonight. So
enough about that perfect team. Good luck tonight. We get CeeDee Lamb over 70.5 receiving yards, and you'll be smiling. Maybe he finds the end zone for you. But again, guys, if you're just tuning in now, Joshua Dobbs going to make the start. Dobbs going to make the start here for the Titans. Thank you, Tyler, for that news. And we do like the Titans offense to roll a little bit better with him under center as opposed to Malik Willis. I like Haskins now a little bit more, maybe top that 51.5, but jumping on Treylon Burks over 20.5 receiving yards at FanDuel at -110, and then over 2.5 catches on at DraftKings is plus money as well. We're going to take a quick timeout. Brian, hang tight. Lots to get to here with you. We're going to answer some questions that people have. We are going to take a look at the rest of the schedule, the playoff appearances, and things like that. Get your thoughts. There's only a couple spots open, one in the AFC and two in the NFC, and most teams have clinched, but there's still some movement potentially with some teams, and we'll take a look at the potential playoff matchups as of right now, and also way too early rankings, top 12 overall, top 12 running backs, and top 12 wide receivers. And you told me you have some things to say, so I'm looking forward to that as well. Keep her locked. Lots more to get to here on Mean Streets. Back in a couple.
At DraftKings Sportsbook, you can bet on nearly any sport imaginable. The NFL, the NBA, college football, college basketball, golf, the NHL, tennis, Major League Baseball, MMA, and more. Download the DK Sportsbook app on iOS and Android operating systems, as well as on your desktops or in mobile browsers. Get the best bonuses using promo code FTN. Remember, the only way to gamble responsibly is to win. Prize Picks is a creative new way to parlay picks based on expected fantasy point production and single stat projections. You pick 2 to 5 players and predict if they'll go over or under their projected fantasy point total or their single stat total. When parlaying the players, the larger your parlay, the better the payout. A 2-pick entry pays 3x. A 3-pick entry pays 5x. A 4-pick entry pays 10x. As a bonus offer, there's a flex play option. This provides an added level of security on your entry where you can decrease your multiplier received if you miss one of your entries, but hit on all the others. At FTN, we have Prize Picks coverage for every sport in both article and standalone pick format on our Prize Picks pick tracker. Use promo code FTN for a 100% deposit match on your first deposit of up to $100.
Welcome back in Mean Streets here on Game Plus Network. Chris Meaney and Bryon Cook here with you guys. The number is gone. Of course, Treylon Burks is going to go. You're not going to be able to get that 20.5 receiving yards or 2.5 catches at plus money. But honestly, I would take anything probably. What do you think for him today? I would take anything over 40, 45 receiving yards. I think he can get to like 50 or 60 for Treylon today.
Yeah, I mean, just like I said, depending on the flow of the game, I do think this is a Dallas game, so I think they're going to have to pass it. And one thing about backups is it's kind of like a boom or bust with receivers, right? They find a guy they like and they stick to him usually. So if Treylon Burks can show early that he can get open, you got to believe that he's going to be the guy that gets the ball a lot. So I'll take it. I'll take over 40 yards. I don't know if I'm going into 50 or 60 yet, but I do take over.
Yeah, I don't think it'll get that high. I think you'll probably see like 41 or something.
Yeah.
Like that. I don't know if it'll get that high, but I just wanted to shoot for the stars. You know how it is. Okay, let's answer some questions here first for some people that are hanging out with us here. Let's get into it. Brett Thunderstruck in the house. Good morning, Chris. Lots of questions today. Okay, let's start with quarterback. Would you go Hurts if he plays, Minshew if he doesn't, or Goff at home? Okay, first of all, if Jalen Hurts plays, I'm playing Jalen Hurts, okay? Like, the number one quarterback in fantasy before the injury happened. Guys, if he plays, then he's good enough to play himself. They feel like that. And also, if the game gets out of hand in the second half, I said this yesterday, he probably had a good first half. If he sits in the third or fourth quarter, maybe it's injury, but maybe he sits because they're up big. And if they're up big, he probably did enough offensively to have a day. With all of that said, I don't think he's going to play. I don't think he's going to suit up. Minshew was fine last week. He threw some picks, but he did a good job on the road in his first start in quite some time against a tough Cowboys front that can get after you. Now he plays the Saints at home, second game. I think that he's good enough to start, but I would lean here with Jared Goff. I had Minshew as a top 12 quarterback last week and Goff outside my top 12 because it was a road game. Now he's back home in a dome. We've talked about the splits. They're significant. His home and away splits up against Chicago. Leaky defense, missing a lot of players. Still something to play for with Detroit. So I lean Goff over Minshew, but I don't know where you're at.
Yeah, I was going to agree. Obviously, if Hurts is healthy, you go Hurts, right? I don't think that's really even much of a question. But Goff, they might cool down a little bit, but, man, he's still a hot quarterback right now, man. He's playing some of the best football in his career right now. So it's hard for me to not play Goff, right, against a Chicago team that's still struggling, right? Also, Justin Fields is an all-star, right? We love watching Justin Fields play.
Yeah.
But that comes – a lot of opportunities for Detroit to score the ball too. You know what I mean? So there's going to be a lot for Goff to do at home this week, I'd say, more so than Minshew.
This one's a little bit of a tougher question. At the tight end position, I still think I lean Andrews, man, even though Baltimore has been so atrocious and doesn't look like Lamar is going to play this week. I have a hard time rolling out Taysom Hill. I know last week was a game in Cleveland where we talked about the weather and we saw a little bit more run from him and he had a rushing touchdown. It's either Andrews or Cole Kmet for me. I like Cole Kmet. I like what he's done over the past couple weeks. We just saw Fields torch Detroit a couple weeks ago, so he could have some success in this matchup. Mm-hmm. Where are you at? Where are you at with these three tight ends?
Yeah, this is a tough one. Andrews, like we all know, he's one of the best, right? He can be one of the best. We'll put it that way. He hasn't played like that this year.
He hasn't this year.
So many question marks. I mean, Cole Kmet has had an uptick, and I think that with that leaky Detroit defense, right, you're going to get the chance to see Cole Kmet make some plays. But then also, though, I do like Taysom Hill, and the reason why I like Taysom Hill is because over the past couple of weeks, not just in the Cleveland game, you've seen that offense really is only moving when they go ahead and put him back there and run that wildcat type of offense. And with that being said, they're getting – I wish I had the numbers, but they're getting yards on that when he comes in there. Like, their rushing yards are primarily coming from that. And the way their offense moves comes from that. So while I think it would be in spurts – it's still like a decent play to put Taysom Hill in there and get that production in spurts or not, because he is going to go for a good amount of yards and he's probably going to be their red zone threat, So he could throw one too. You really don't know. They haven't showed it yet, but he can throw, so you never know.
He can throw. He did have a bomb a couple weeks ago, right? To Shaheed. He tossed one over the top, and that could be a scenario this week as well, as they're basically touchdown dogs here. Mark Andrews, man, this guy hasn't scored double-digit fantasy points since week 6. He hasn't topped, 63 receiving yards is his best showing since week 11. He had 6 grabs against Carolina, 63 receiving yards. He's been held under 4 catches in 3 straight games. So I understand the hesitancy to kind of roll him out in this spot in a game against the Steelers where we probably won't see a lot of offense and not a lot of scoring in this matchup. You look at the Ravens offense overall, 17 points, 3, 16, 10, 13 in that week 11 game against Carolina. They're not clicking right now. They don't have a lot of options either. We have Mark Andrews projected for 9 points in a half-point setting. That is behind Kelsey, Kittle, Hawkinson, Ingram. And then we go Goddard, Schultz, Higbee, Pat Freiermuth, and Njoku. Then Hill, followed by Knox and Cole Kmet. What I will say about Cole Kmet is that when he played Detroit in Week 10, he had 74 yards and 2 touchdowns. He did have a pretty big game there. And to Taysom Hill, let's see. Taysom Hill, you said you didn't have the numbers. I'll share a little bit of the numbers with you guys. And, of course, Brett knows them as a Taysom Hill guy. He's doing some things, to your point. He's rushing a little bit, 11, 12 fantasy points over the last 3 games. So he's getting in there and he's tossing the football a bit, and he's also running a little bit as well. So I don't know, man. I think I just play Andrews. But I'm a sucker for punishment. What way did you lean? Taysom Hill?
Honestly, I'll probably go Cole Kmet. I'm gonna go Cole Kmet on this. But Taysom Hill would be my second guy. I'd actually probably go Andrews last, just because they're going against the Steelers. Like, let's be honest here. It's a backup against the Steelers. That's not good. That's not good juju. Let's say that.
I think the ceiling is higher for Kmet, and I think Hill might be a little bit safer. And he's got one more here. Murray Cooper or Romeo Doubs, assuming Watson is out, trending that way as well. What do you make of Cooper?
I mean, like I said, I always like his production because you're looking at 4 passes, 4 catches, and each of them are going to be intermediate probably. So I do like that. But Green Bay is starting to click a little bit. So offensively, I do like Dubes. I think I would lean on Amari just because it's a little safer. We know he's going to get his opportunities. Dubes, Aaron Rodgers likes to spread the ball around a little bit. So you really don't know which way that's going to go, right?
Listen, if there was no Watson, I probably would go Romeo. I probably would play him out there just because of the Vikings and the secondary. But yeah, keep an eye on Cooper. Didn't practice yesterday. Cleveland's out of it. So it's possible they kind of shut him down and rest him. It is a matchup against Washington, which is it's a tough spot, really. I mean, I do have some respect for the Commanders defense, but if Watson is out, that's the way I'd lean against the Vikings. And your final question there, I would just play Moss over Haskins. Honestly, it's the Giants. So they've struggled against the run all year. You're getting a lot of carries from Moss. He even caught a couple passes last week. He wasn't great in that matchup against the Colts, but this is a little bit of a better one. He is dominating the touches with Taylor sideline. We got a break, and we'll get to the rest of these questions, and I do have some stuff I want to talk to Bryon about as well. So we'll continue with some of these questions. Keep your lock. We'll get through them on the other side of the break. Back in a couple. Welcome back in, Tyler. Let's toss these up quick time, and we'll run through some of these questions if there were any other ones. I know there was a Malik Davis rushing prop. That one we can throw out the window because he's not starting tonight. He is not starting tonight. It is Joshua Dobbs who's getting the call for the Titans. Pollard's officially inactive. Anything else, Tyler? Were there any other questions? Here we go. Start one RB, flex full PPR, Algier, Dylan, Zonovan, Juju, Marquise. So one running back and one flex. I'm not starting Marquise Hollywood. I think Arizona's is completely checked out. I know Colt McCoy is going to back under center, but I'm not doing it. I'm playing Algier. He's been trending up. Good spot. Double-digit carries, getting some touchdowns.
Yeah.
And I may lean. I'm kind of between Juju and Dylan. I'm not playing Zonovan. I'm just
no.
man.
I'm going Juju.
Not into it.
If you want my opinion, I'm going Juju.
I do want your opinion.
Yeah, I'm going Juju, man. You going with Pat Mahomes? Like they're throwing the ball a bunch of times, right? Juju's kind of turned himself into that main guy for him, other than Kelsey, right? That's kind of his go-to, so to speak. So, like, why not, right? Why not?
And I think he had a pretty good game against the Broncos a couple weeks ago as well. That's the way I lean as well. If you find out that Aaron Jones can't suit up in this high potential scoring game between the Vikings and the Packers, then maybe you lean with AJ there. But I'm done with Zonovan. I tell you, even with Mike White, I like Zonovan Knight, but I just can't trust what's going on with the Jets. I mean, he like 1 point last week. I was lucky to squeak by my semi-final matchup with him, hardly touching the field. I know it was a sloppy game. What else do we got here? Cowboys D or 49ers D? Must be nice, Alex. Must be nice. I have the Niners ranked number 1 going up against Jarrett Stidham. The Raiders and Jarrett Stidham.
Oh, yeah. Man. Yeah, dude. I mean, look, I love the Cowboys, what they're doing defensively. Think they're great. And do think that they're going to put up some points. But number 1 defense against the backup, against a team that's reeling, I don't see how you go away from those guys in San Fran. I don't. I just don't see how you do it.
I know. Their defense is playing so good, and also, like, I mean,
they're
going to Stidham, right?
So, this is the best defense I've seen in the last couple of years.
Absolutely. They remind me kind of like the Ravens 2000. Like they're just like they're absolutely elite, legit. I mean, for Alex should be able to put one of those defenses in the flex spot. Absolutely. I would roll out one of those defenses over a lot of average running backs that you guys are throwing at me here today. But I don't think you can go wrong, Alex. I think both defenses will probably finish 1-2, at least top 3. Double-digit points certainly in play, and a defensive score for both squads definitely in play as well. Thoughts? Oh, wow. Kicker question here, Alex. I mean, I just roll out. He's been pretty good.
What team? I don't even know what team that is.
Dallas's kicker, Meyer. He's been basically automatic. He's a top 5 fantasy kicker. I think I would just roll him out, even if it's a blowout. Maybe he gets you a couple. You're hoping for field goals. Right? You're hoping for field goals. He gets you a couple extra points. If they score 4 touchdowns, there's 4. I'd say Robbie Gould would be the other one, but again, that one could be a blow. But at least that one is in a dome. And a couple touchdowns there as well. So I think we've ran for them all. Dak will choke at Tampa. We have an MG. We have a Dak Prescott hater in the house. Dak will choke at Tampa. We'll get to maybe into that in a little bit. Deesh pick 2. Sorry, need 2 of these 3. Pacheco, Jamal, or Swift. Gotta love Pollard being out.
I know it hurts me, man. I have Pollard, so I get it. Pacheco.
You have a lean between Jamal and Swift? I still lean Jamal, but our projections say Swift.
I was going to go Swift. I have Jamal in one of my other leagues, and I just don't like what he's been doing. I'd lean Swift just because he's got 3 down value. And, like, in the past game, depending on what happens, I know he's going to get some chances. Jamal is like hit or miss, right? You don't really know. It's based on how everybody else plays, really. It's a lot of times with him. If that offense is moving smoothly, he's getting the ball right, and he's getting the ball near the red zone and near the end zone. But Swift is that guy for them. That's their 3 down back, man. There's their sub package.
Yeah. One thing I will say is that Jamal, he's been trending down. He hasn't topped 40 rushing yards in any of his past 4 games. And Swift is coming off a game where he played the most snaps he's played all season. So maybe, he's fully healthy and maybe they ride him and, down the stretch here to potentially punch a ticket into the playoffs. Speaking of the playoffs, let's actually bring up the week 17 schedule, the rest of the schedule. I want to see what Brian's looking for and what he has his eye on. There's been a little bit of line movement. The Lions are now 6-point favorites. The Chiefs are 12.5. They were actually 13.5, but I guess the Nathaniel Hackett firing has maybe got some people on board with maybe a Broncos cover. The Pats are 3-point favorites. Of course, no Tua. We're going to see Teddy Bridgewater. The Giants have moved up to 6-point favorites. The Eagles have dropped down to 5.5 from 6.5. The Bucs have stayed true at 3. The Commanders have dropped down a little bit with Carson Wentz, I guess. starting as the quarterbacks, and people may be more willing to put their money down on the Brownies at 1.5 for Washington. The Jags are 4.5-point favorites. The Niners have moved to 10. They were 5.5. We talked about them Monday being an absolute steal. I still like them at 10. I think they win by 10 points. They're all business these days, and I don't think the Raiders will even score 10 points. The Jets at 1.5. The Packers at 3-point favorites here. What a game between Buffalo and Cincinnati. The first matchup we're going to see between Allen and Joe Burrow. I'm sure that's one game that you got your eye on. What are some other ones?
Yeah, that was going to say that one's obviously one that everybody wants to see, right? I'd say the other two for me that kind of stand out are Carolina, Tampa Bay. Carolina's hot right now, man, and they bought into Steve Wilkes. It's pretty apparent, right? They bought into what he's doing, what he's preaching, and that offense is playing a lot better with Sam Darnold. I think he's just starting to really understand what he's doing, and they're running the ball well. You know what I mean? So they look good. Tampa Bay is hit or miss, right? We don't know what we're going to get. So I think that's going to be an interesting one to watch. And then the other one would be for me is Miami and New England. And for the simple fact that Miami's got to figure it out, right? They have to find a way to win these games. You know what I mean? New England, they've had some bad luck as of late. They got to find a way. You got two desperate teams for a win right now. And obviously you got Bill Belichick versus obviously Mike McDaniels, the new and up-and-comer. Always a good matchup, good chess matchup between a great offense and an equally great defense. So that'll be an interesting one that I want to see the outcome of for sure. A lot of playoff implications there too.
Let's bring up the AFC playoff picture. Tyler, we're going to do a minute here and then break, and then one more segment here with Bryon. Who do you think gets that final spot? Do you think it's Miami, New England, the Jets? Who would you put your money on as of today to get that final spot?
Yeah, I think I'm going to lean Miami, man. I just think that Miami will find a way to crack New England. And I just think that for what it's worth, New England's offense right now is just they got a lot of questions to answer, and that's going to be their downfall. They're going to. I know they play great defense, but they're going to have to still find a way to keep up. They're not going to stop them from scoring entirely, right? They're going to find a way to keep up. So I think it's Miami's really to lose, if I'm being quite honest. I don't see, how it couldn't be. But
you think the Jags win the division? You think the Jags are in the playoffs? I think they're in the playoffs. I think they're going to win.
I forgot about the Jags. I don't know why I didn't talk about them. But,
I think they're going to beat the Titans next week. I think that they're going to be a playoff squad, man.
I think they are
playing
too.
Good football.
I agree. I love what Jacksonville's doing, man. I love what Trevor Lawrence is doing specifically. I've watched the last couple of weeks of his play, and he's turning that corner, right? Him and Justin Fields both this year have shown tremendous growth, and that's awesome to see, right? He's delivering the ball confidently. He's got Travis Etienne working well. The defense is playing very opportunistic, creating turnovers and making big plays off of them. It's just very good complementary football, and Doug Peterson has these guys confident. I think that's the one thing that you can't overstate when you're trying to make a run. Confidence. They have it. They have probably the most confidence in the league right now, and I love it.
Yeah, and I love to see it, man. The swagger. Peterson's got them all buying in. They're all feeling themselves. You're going to add Calvin Ridley to that offense next year as well. We are going to break, and I'm going to show you the rankings. We're not going to be able to dive into it too much, but think about what you want to see first, what you want to talk about, the top 12 overall, the top 12 backs, the top 12 wide receivers. Think about that in the break. We'll be in the other side of the break, and we'll dive into that and then some NHL props to round out Mean Streets. One more segment here with Bryon. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back in. The Traylon Burks prop only moved up a handful of yards, 26.5 at DraftKings. 26. Here I am getting excited about 50 and 60. Again, I would take anything over 38 and a half. I think he gets in the 40s today. I mean, these guys are down.
Yeah.
Daily handle, no, the Titans are not covering 13. It's all over for the Titans. Like a little bit more competitive for the Titans. They're looking ahead at next week. Listen, if this game gets out of hand, they're going to be resting dudes in the second half. They are looking at next week against Jacksonville to punch themselves a ticket into the playoffs. And for Dallas, they're going to roll. They're going to roll today. So I don't think that they're going to cover. But 26 and a half at DraftKings minus 110 for Burks. Give me the over. And 2.5 catches at minus 110. It's not plus money, but I still like the 3 grabs. You're just looking for 3 grabs, man. Come on. It's going to happen here today. Okay. What do you want to talk? Top 12 overall, top 12 backs, or top 12 wide receivers?
I have a little bit on everything. We can start with receivers.
Well, we can rapid fire through it. We got about 2.5 minutes here.
I can give you a rapid fire. Now, is this from a football standpoint or a fantasy standpoint?
It's fantasy. It's fantasy spin on it, but you can talk
fantasy spin on it. Okay. So my thoughts here. I do like Amon-Ra, but I do think he slides down a little bit on this list, in my opinion. I just don't see how you don't have Waddle and Adams above him. And I do like the consistency that Amon-Ra shows, but Adams, for what it's worth, does show a lot of consistency. I think they will get a quarterback in there that will find ways to get him the ball. And even this year, they found ways to get him the ball, and he delivered. And then Jalen Waddle, man, like that dude is too explosive, right? He's way too explosive for me to have him outside of the top 10. So that's my big thing with the wide receivers here. T. Higgins, great. Amon-Ra, great. But with that being said, give me Adams and Waddle over those two, probably any day of the week.
Keep going. We'll transition into backs. We'll let you go.
Okay, backs. Okay. Austin Eckler, from a fantasy standpoint, absolutely understand why he's a top 3 guy. He does a little bit of everything. I do completely get that. But in terms of just backs in the league right now, I just don't see how you can take Chubb and Henry and Jacobs out of those slots, right? Jacobs obviously has shown that he is a top 5 back in this league. And then Nick Chubb and Derrick Henry, for what it's worth, are still models of consistency in the run game. Austin Eckler does give you that 3-down value that Henry and Chubb don't. But I don't think it's enough for me to push him into that top 3 spot. So that's my thoughts on the running backs. Like everything else, though, that's over there. Dalvin Cook is also a really good pick in there in that top 10. And then just from a top fantasy player standpoint, we can roll that one over here. Yeah, I don't really see too much to change here. I think that A.J. Brown, in my opinion, should go over Nick Chubb. And I just think it's just a credit to what the Eagles have done offensively and how much Jalen Hurts loves that A.J. Brown's on that team, right? Nick Chubb's a great back, but I think that he's very much goes with the way of the offense. And you're starting to see that in these last 5 or 6 weeks, just his drop down in production. So that would be my only thing with Nick Chubb and A.J. Brown, maybe switching those two. But in terms of everything else, I mean, Justin Jefferson is Justin Jefferson. McCaffrey is now an offense that uses him properly in every way that he needs to be used. And then Tyreek Hill, Eckler, Kelsey, all 3 of those guys are high usage guys. They're going to get you points, and they're used in pretty much every aspect of the game offensively for their teams.
I love it. That was great. I can't really push back. For one, there's not a lot of time. I was just a little tough with the Raiders, right? I just didn't know if you told me Carr was going to be back. I mean, Adams would be a top 4 wide receiver for me, just like he was this year. Mm-hmm. Josh Jacobs, to your point, has proved that he can be a stud. I'm just worried about what's going to happen with the Raiders. And of course, this is way too early. We're not diving into it too much, but this could be a rookie quarterback and, a very stale offense. Adams could be on a new team. I would like to dive in a little bit more, maybe next time, about Nick Chubb, right? Because Nick Chubb with Hunt free agent, Dearness Johnson free agent, maybe he catches a few more passes out of the backfield just like Henry is this year. Maybe they can add another element. But I think it's all about preference. Do you want a wide receiver or do you want a running back? I think Tyreek Hill is quarterback proof. I think he's shown that. He's quarterback proof. I would say Jalen Waddle probably is as well. Maybe I'm a little unfair. But I think we'll see a new quarterback in Miami too. All the thoughts and prayers with Tua. I hope we can see him again in the NFL, but I wouldn't be shocked if maybe Derek Carr is a Miami Dolphin next year.
Lamar Jackson.
maybe Lamar Jackson. My goodness, Lamar with those weapons. Whew. We got to go. We're out of here. Bryon, thank you so much. NHL Picks on the other side. Keep her locked. Be back in a couple. Welcome back in. A lot of action in the NHL. Going to rapid fire through some shot props here in a second. Leading with Michael Bunting. All eyes will be on, of course, Austin Matthews as an Arizona boy. But how about Michael Bunting in a revenge spot? It's always fun to talk revenge. It has nothing really to do with this pick. But he is plus money for 3 shots. He has 15 shots on goal in his last 3 games. He's cleared 2.5 in each of those games. He's had at least 6 shots in 2 of the 3. He's got 5 goals in his last 7, so consider plus 230 for a goal. He's hit the score sheet in 12 of his last 14 games, so I really like minus 138 for a point. He's playing with William Nylander, Austin Matthews. These guys are absolute snipers, so maybe he can fall into an assist, plus 162 for an apple, but I like the shots on goal for Michael Bunting. I think he maybe a 2-point night for Michael Bunting. We'll see. A couple other shot props here on the way out quickly. Roope Hintz is cleared in 7 of his last 8. Thomas Hertl's cleared in 7 of his last 8. Makar's been a shooting machine, playing like half the hockey games. Tarasenko's cleared in a couple straight. He's in a really good spot against the Blackhawks. Dave Perron is on a heater as well, a great spot against the Buffalo Sabres. And then Carter Verhaeghe, 2.5 shots. I like him to score tonight against the Montreal Canadiens. We are out of here. We've gone a little bit long. Appreciate you guys. Love the call. Anthony CD, first touchdown score, plus 800. It's either him or it's Zeke, and do not play Hassan Haskins, David. I would go with the other guys there for sure. Enjoy the football game. We'll talk to you guys soon. Cheers.